Hello, my name is Steve Bowler, and welcome to the JUNOS Configuration Basics Lab 1. In this lab, we're going to go over basic user access and also banner configuration. So what we're going to show you how to do in this lab is we're going to show you how to set up users and user access into your Juniper device. We're going to create two different users, one with operator rights and the other one with super user rights. We're going to explain the differences and show you the differences in between those two different types of our classes of users. We're also going to explain the difference between the message banner and the announcement banner and show you how to place them and verify the configuration. So the first thing we're going to do, this picture might look similar to ones you've seen if you saw some of the introduction videos already. What I have is a drawing of my computer, which is the laptop, and I'm connected into my SRX 210 device via the gig E000 interface. So I'm already SSH'd in via PuTTY. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over the basics first on user access into the router. So the first thing that we need to do is go under configuration mode, and if we look at just do a show, we can see that we don't have anything set up yet for where we are going to place the user account configuration within the JUNOS. So the hierarchy are where we're going to put the user, create the user access into our device is under the edit system login hierarchy. So if I go under edit system login and do a set space question mark, you can see that I have multiple options. And what we're going to use for this lab, again, we're going to create two users. The first one we will do set user. The first person that we're going to create is a user named Aaron, and I'm going to use this name after one of my friends that I work with. He wanted to be, it's a funny story, but he wanted to be added into one of the videos. So I said, okay, well, I'm doing a video on user access, so I'll go ahead and put him in just to give him his 15 minutes of fame. So Aaron, this is for you. So our first user, Aaron, and obviously because he's our friend, what we're going to do is we're going to give him super user access, which is the highest level you can get. We'll do the command set user Aaron, and then this, again, this is going to be the username. If I do a space question mark, you can see that we have to define next the login class. So there's a couple of criteria that we have to put in. The first one is the username. We have to define our user, and then we're going to have to define the class, which ultimately defines the permissions that we're giving the user that we're creating. In this case, if we do class space question mark, we have some predefined classes that we can use. We're going to give him super user access. So we'll do set user Aaron, class super user. And once we have that configuration put in, the next thing we're going to do is we have to, let me just show you real fast. Let me bring up PuTTY. Okay, now that I have PuTTY up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get into the router 192.168.1.1 and try to SSH in under Aaron's. If I do login as Aaron, it's going to ask us for the password, and the problem is we haven't set the password yet. So that's our next step in configuring our users. Under the Edit System Login hierarchy, what we have to do is go under and do set user, then our username, which is Aaron. Then we're going to have to configure our authentication method. In this case, what we'll do is authentication space question mark. What we're going to use is the plain text password, and this is going to prompt us for the plain text password. And it says that it's auto encrypted, and I'll show you that that is indeed the case. So we'll do set user Aaron authentication. Follow that with plain text password, and then hit enter. It's going to ask us for our new password, so I'll go ahead and put in our password. It's going to ask us to retype it just to verify we have the correct password. And I'll go ahead and hit enter. So now if I go back to PuTTY and try to put in the password that I just created, you can see that it's still saying access denied, and this is because obviously if you're looking and you're watching, you're probably like, well, what are you doing? What I have to do is if I do a show pipe compare, you can see that I've put in all these commands, but I haven't committed it yet. So let's do a quick commit so that we can add these changes to our configuration. And now if I go ahead and try to log in, we can see that we have successfully logged in to the device under the new user that we just created, which is Aaron. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create another user, and we're going to give this user we're going to give this user operator permissions only. And as we can see, the operator, it gives us a detailed, or gives us a description of what the operators are allowed to do within the device. And this is do clear, network, reset, trace, and view. So what we're going to see is if we create an operator account, user account correctly, we should not be able to get into configuration mode. So let's go ahead and try to do that next. We're under Edit System Login already. So let's go ahead and we'll do set user. We'll call this user Bob. And we will give him the class of operator. Next thing we have to do, once we define our user, next thing we have to put in is the authentication we're going to use. So set user Bob authentication is going to be plain text password. So we'll go ahead and enter the password for Bob. And the last thing we're going to have to do is a quick commit. So if we configured this user correctly, we should only be able to have operator permissions when we log in with the Bob user account. So let's go ahead and try to do that real fast. Let me bring up PuTTY. Okay, now that I have PuTTY up, let's go ahead and go into the router 192.168.1.1. And it's going to ask us for the login, who we want to log in as. We'll go ahead and put in Bob. And then we'll put Bob's password that we created. And now you can see that we're logged in as Bob. So if I do a question mark right off the bat, you can see that I do not have an option for configure. So if I go ahead and try to do edit, you see it says unknown command. If I do configure, it does as well. So let me just show you the difference between the two. One of the main differences between the two accounts that we just created. We created the Bob account, which is operation. I'm sorry, operator. I keep saying operation. I apologize. We created Bob's account to be an operator account with limited access. He doesn't have access into configuration mode. And we created the account, the user account Aaron, and we gave him super user access. So he should have access to everything. So let's bring up PuTTY again and show you the difference. We'll go into the router 192.168.1.1. Actually, let's get rid of it. I'm sorry about that. If that was loud, apologize. Let's go under, this time we'll go under Aaron. We'll put in Aaron's password. And now we'll go ahead, and if I do a question mark, you can see that I have the option for configure. So this is going to allow me to get into configuration mode, as we can see. Same thing, edit. If I do edit, that brings us to configuration mode as well. So that's one of the biggest differences between the two user accounts. Aaron has super user access, so he has all permissions, as we can see via the description of the super user. And then Bob, we just made an operator. One of the other things that we can do under the edit system login is if we do a set space question mark, you can see that we have the password option. So if we do set password space question mark, you can see that we can define maximum length, the minimum length of our passwords, the maximum length of our passwords, also the minimum number of changes in password. So I'm not going to do that in this lab, but I just wanted to show you that you have that capability, that option to create stronger passwords by increasing the maximum length of the password. I'm sorry, or you can increase the minimum length, so instead of it being 6 or whatever you have it defined as, if you want stronger password protection, you can increase that to say 12 or 14 or whatever number you want, up to 20. And you can also create a maximum, so for those users who want to create a super huge password key, they will not be able to do that. So right now, one of the commands I want to show you is if I go and do the command show system user, what this does is it shows us what users are logged into the device. As we can see, our user Aaron is logged in to the device. It gives them what time they logged in at, it gives them how long they've been idle, and where they're at. One of the things I want to show you is that we can log people out of the router. The way we do this is with the command request system logout. Then you can follow that up with, if I do a question mark, you can put the process ID, or we can use the terminal or user, or the name of the user. Specifically, we'll do the name of the user, we'll do Aaron. So when I do this, what we should see is we should see this PuTTY session come to an end. So request system logout user Aaron, hit enter, and just as you can see, the window went away. So now if I do a show system users, we can see that the user Aaron is no longer logged into the device. So if there's somebody that's doing something on the router that they're not supposed to be, or if there's some user that's logged in and their session is hung, or there is some problem with that, you can boot those people out of the router using the request system logout user option, or request system logout option, I should say. So one last thing I want to show you with the basic user access and account creation. Let me bring up the PuTTY. So let's go ahead and log in as Aaron, but this time we're going to put a lowercase a instead of a capital A. We're going to put in his password. So what is happening is I'm putting in the password correctly, but we are getting access denied. So let's go ahead and bring up PuTTY one more time. And verify that we can get in with the correct username, capital A. And so what we can conclude with that test is that the login name is case sensitive. So I put a lowercase a and tried to log in with Aaron, and it failed. So it's very important that you remember that when you create users that it's case sensitive, because like we just saw, we created the user with a capital A and then tried to log in with a lowercase a, and it was denying us access. So the last thing we're going to do in this lab is we just went over basic user access. We showed you how to create users, put them in different user classes, and also showed you some of the password options that you have, creating a minimum and maximum length of password. I'm sorry, minimum and maximum length of for the passwords that your users are able to enter. The next thing we're going to do is show you how to set up basic banner configuration. Let's go ahead and log Aaron out. Let's quit his session. Let's get back in as the root. The way we're going to create our banners is under the login hierarchy under system. So we'll do edit system login. If I do set space question mark, you can see that I have the option for a message, and this is the system login message. So first we're going to show you how to create the message banner. So we'll do the option set message, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the message, I'm going to do \n, and what the \n does is creates a line break, and I'll show you this by doing, if I just put in the message first, if I do set message and then this, and then add in our message, this is where the message banner goes. I'm going to show you before I use the line break and then after. Let's go ahead and commit the change. And now I'm going to bring up PuTTY and log in and show you where this banner shows up, the message banner. If I go ahead and now try to log in to the router, we'll log in with Aaron. Log in as Aaron because he's our friend. And you can see once I enter his name and hit enter, you can see that it says this is where the message banner goes. So now let me show you what that looks like once I create or add in our line breaks. So I'm going to put 3 line breaks on the front before the message, and then also 3 line breaks on the end. And now let's go ahead and SSH back into the router and see what happens. So I'm going to get back into the router, 192.168.1.1. We'll log in as Aaron. Now what we can see is that we have our spaces that we created using the line breaks. So what you use the spaces for are the \n, so you can create some distance and make your banners more readable. Because when we first created our banner without the line breaks, it was all a little clustered together closely and hard to read. So this gives us a little space between our messages and makes it more readable. So that's where the message banner is placed. Let's go ahead and show you where to add your where your announcement banner is placed. So we're under Edit System Login. If I do a set space question mark, we can see that we also have an announcement banner, our message that I can create. The description for this is the system announcement message, and it kind of tells us already where it's going to be. It says it's displayed after the login, or after login. So if I do set announcement, then I'll create our simple to understand announcement. We'll just say this is where the announcement, oh, sorry about that. If you heard that, it was pretty loud. I apologize. Our putty connection just ended. Sorry about that. Back to our announcement. We'll do this is where the announcement banner goes. Before, we'll show you before and after we create our line breaks. We'll do a commit. Then I'm going to putty back in. So now let's get back into our router, 192.168.1.1. We'll log in as Aaron. This time we'll log in completely. So we see where the message banner is right there. So now if I log in, we can see that if we don't put any line breaks, it shows up on the same line as when we log into the router. Another thing I guess I should have pointed out to you when we did the user access, the basic user access part, is when I log in as Aaron, that's what shows up under the router before the router name. It says Aaron at Juniper. So Aaron is obviously the user that we're logged in as, and Juniper is the router name. So without line breaks, this looks kind of clustered. We have everything on the same line. So obviously that's why we want to create some space between our banners and our regular messages, and we do that with the /n. So we'll do /n, we'll just do 3 before and 3 after. And then we'll go ahead and try to putty back in. This time we'll log in as Bob. We feel sorry for him. He's been left out. So let's go ahead and put in his password and then we'll show you what the line break does with the announcement placement of the announcement banner. What we can see now is that we have some spaces before and after our banner. So again, this makes it a little more readable, and that's exactly what we want to create for our users and for administrators, for everybody who logs in. We want to make this easy to read and understand. So to review exactly what we did, we just do a show. Under the Edit System Login hierarchy, we see that we have our announcement banner and then our message banner. That was the last thing we did in this lab. The first thing we did was we created two users. One user named Aaron, which was under our super user class. And we also created another user named Bob under the operator class. We showed you one of the differences between them. One of the biggest differences is obviously the super user can access configuration mode, whereas the operator does not have access into configuration mode. So this is JUNOS Configuration Basics Lab 1. In this lab we showed you basic user access and banner configuration. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.